Hey everyone, welcome back to Chicken Cindy's. Know what you're thinking, Josh, why do you have these blue rubber gloves on for a brand new bike? Let's get into it. My entire thought process for today's video is to get this Vitus Mythique VR down to its frame. I want to see just all the components. I want to check it out. I want to see grease amounts, that kind of stuff. So if you are potentially thinking about buying this bike or wanting to buy this bike, hopefully this will give you a very good idea of what to expect when your Mythique comes in. So this is the VR model. So I'd imagine the two models above this one will be roughly the same condition because they will be coming from the same place. So we're going to start with just the wheels and getting stuff off, and I'm just going to kind of talk and discuss what I'm doing as I go. And if any questions come up during this process, please put them down in the comments so I can get to you and answer your questions as best as I can. But I'm super excited to do this, so let's get started. So I'm going to start with taking off the chain. That was on there very tight. It came with the rear axle in, so now I'm curious to see if this is greased at all or what it looks like. It looks like it's greased. It's kind of hard to tell, but it does look like it had been greased. It feels like that very thick, viscous, I think is a good word for it, grease that's on the chain as well. So it's almost like they put like the style of greasing on it for like shipping specifically to prevent like water or rust damage. So that's kind of interesting. So this is something I'm very interested in. I'm pretty sure this is a Shimano styled cassette or an HG cassette. But we're going to take this off and check it out anyhow because why not? Yep. Looks good. Nice cassette. Oh, dropping crud. So this is a solid piece cassette besides the top two cogs. That's really nice. This is a super snazzy Sunrace. So again, 11 tooth to I believe it was 46 tooth. Let me find it again. Yeah, to the 46 tooth. Your legs might take a little bit of time to get used to it. I have bikes with 50 tooth cogs. 46 is plenty. It really is. That's actually a really nice sounding. It feels good. The engagement's pretty stinking quick. The crimp is on very nice. I'll give him credit for that. A lot of times I get bikes and the crimps are not on at all. So props to Chain Reaction for that. They also use Jaguar cable housing, which is very nice. So little points of attention to detail such as that makes me very happy. I also highly recommend, if you're buying this bike, because this does come from across seas, to buy an extra hanger. I bought a spare hanger with mine. It was like $17. And the cool thing is if you buy it, whenever you buy your bike, you'll still get it with free shipping, and you don't have to pay $20 for shipping for a $17, $18 item. So keep that in mind if you're wanting to buy this bike. Grab a derailleur hanger, because if you bend or break your derailleur hanger, you're going to be out a couple weeks to get it potentially. So, Josh's friendly tip of the day. Take off these Shimano brakes. I am such a huge fan of Shimano brakes. It does look like the frame's set up for 160 millimeters, and it comes with the brake adapter to fit a 180 rotor in the back. So keep that in mind if you're wanting to maybe change the rear to like a 200 or something. You'll need a 160 to 200 and not a 180. Alright, let's go ahead and get the crank arms off now. There we go. So it does have a little safety latch to get off. I just used a pick to get it off. So it is important to know that Here is your Jaguar crankset. Looks very, very nice, but it is a bolt-on style chainring. So that's good. This bottom bracket's in there very, very tight. There we go. Holy cow. Here is the bottom bracket. Just your basic Shimano bracket. And I was asked, these pivot points all do use actual bearings. So just a heads up on that. If you're wanting to upgrade the rear shock on this, you will need a 190 millimeter sized rear shock, and the hardware size you'll need is 21.8 millimeters, and it's 21.8 top and bottom. All right, here is the X-Fusion 02 Pro. Very nice shock. I guess technically we're halfway done. Got everything off on the back end. Got the rear shock out. Gonna have to start taking cables off. And then we're gonna get the front off. And then the last thing to be taken off will probably be the dropper post. So, let's keep going. I say we start with the easy part and take the front wheel off. This was shipped with the front wheel off. The axle was through it, and the axle was greased though, so it looked pretty good. And this bike does come with 180 rotors front and back. We will start with trying to loosen this stuff up on the cockpit and get it to just the bars. So these are single lock-on grips, but they are on super tight. I've never seen grips like that. I don't know what's up with that. I got the bolt loose pretty much all the way before it falls out. They're just super snug on there, so, but just some really nice Vitus grips. You can see how they kind of flare towards the end, so it kind of just helps a little bit with comfortability. Also, while I'm thinking about it, you may or may not have these, but if you're taking your brake calipers out of your brakes, you want to put these, let me point the camera down so you can see it better. You want to put these in the actual brake. It'll hook in the back, but that's to prevent you, so if you pull hydraulic brake hoses or the clamps without that being in there, you'll compress your pads together and they're kind of a pain to get or to get apart. So I should have done that right away, but I didn't think about it until just now. Making pretty good progress. I really think taking parts up or taking bikes apart is kind of like Legos, where it's harder to get Legos put together than it is to take Legos apart, if that makes sense. The Shimano brakes it comes with. They look like MT200s. Ooh, MT401s. I'm sure it says it in the specs, but so a little bit nicer than the MT200s. I kind of figured it would have came with actually the Shimano Jaguar brakes. So you got MT410 caliper, and then the 401 brake lever. So I was pretty impressed with how these were bled. They feel really good. Front and back feel great stock on this bike when I got it, and I was pretty impressed with how the lever felt. Now we're just working on continuing getting these cables off. I really like this Vitus stem cap. That is some stringy grease. So if anybody is wondering, that is your crown race. It's nice. It's not a split crown race. You got the little area to get it off though, so you might have some issues getting that off, but it looked like it was greased pretty well. So here's your fork. You got your X-Fusion RC3229, which of course it's a 29er fork. Very nice air fork. Can't go wrong with it. So there's your top bearing. Nice sealed bearing headset. So that's good. Alright. We have our send dropper post out. 31.6 just a good cheap dropper post. I will say they definitely greased everything very well on this bike. So if grease is something you are concerned about with the new bike, you're good there. Well, here we are with a Vitus Mythique VR 29er frame. I really wanted to get this down just to the frame to kind of check everything out. They did some really cool things. I really like some of these little chainstay protectors. I really like this rubber one in here. That's going to kind of help with chain suck. It's basically like just some backlash when the chain gets in here. But on my NS Eccentric, it's all ate up in this area. So I'm really hoping this little rubber pad is going to help that a ton. But I am very impressed with all the components on this bike. I am super stoked to have kind of just been able to take it apart and check it all out. But as mentioned earlier, you know, these all are actual bearings. They're not bushings. So that's really good to keep in mind and really nice to keep in mind, especially for a bike that's, is it 1750 or 1650? I think it's 1650. But yeah, this is a very impressive bike, in my opinion, for the money. Well, we got it to the frame. I bet you can't guess what I'm going to do now.